Spider's the story of a man who has just been released from a maximum security prison for the criminally insane. It's set in London. The prison is not in London. It really is based on Broadmoor, I think, which is a famous, huge Victorian pile of a prison. But it has a great presence through Spider and his perceptions of everything throughout the movie. Spider is released from this prison. We hear that he's released from this prison because there's just not enough money to keep people like him in prison anymore. I mean, we don't know why he's there at the beginning of the movie. We don't know how long he's been there. And he goes to a kind of halfway house. And while he is sort of adjusting to life in this halfway house, he is free to roam the streets of London and to connect with places that he hasn't seen since he was a child, and to relive both in his memory and in his imagined memory events of his childhood and his family.
What you doing?
Making something.
Making something.
Aren't you clever? You're so good with your hands.
It's for you.
It's for you. It's for you.
Oh. Now, you run down the dog. There's a good boy. Tell your father his dinner's on the table.
It's not on the table.
It's not on the table.
Well, it will be by the time you get him out of that pub. Don't go out the front. I'll just down them steps.
I was sent the script by someone I didn't know, and I wouldn't normally read a script that came to me from someone I didn't know, except that it had a letter attached that said that Ralph Fiennes wanted to play Spider. And the letter was not written to me, it was just written to anybody who was interested. And because I think Ralph is a fantastic actor and very interested in working with him, I thought, well, I'll read this for Ralph. Even though I don't know anything about the script. And when I started to read the script, of course, I started to get very excited about it because it was good.
I was attached to this screenplay before David read it, at least for 2 years before David read it, because the producer, Catherine Bailey, was trying to find a director for it. She had me attached to it. And we were thought we maybe would not find anyone. And then David read it and said that he was interested. And we both felt this has to be the man to do it, because we both loved his work. And it seemed like there could not be a better director.
Spider.
Casting is like a black art, you know. It's like magic. It's a very strange thing, because sometimes you think you want a certain actor, and then you get another actor, and then you find out that it was good that you didn't get the first actor. You have to find actors who want to work with you. You have to find actors who want to do that role. And then you have to find the ones who are available, and then you have to find the ones that you can afford, you know. So. All of these things have to work before you get Gabriel Byrne, before you get Lynn Redgrave. So we were initially I never thought of Gabriel Byrne for this role, because I thought he wouldn't do them. We didn't have money, you know. We didn't have the money, and he was working on some other movie and so on. And we were looking at another actor, and that didn't work out. And then we said, well, why not go for someone, you know, who would be fantastic? Why don't we try Gabriel Byrne? I thought, well, and we sent him the script, and it was fantastic. You know, so you have to be lucky to get the actors that you should get.
Murderer.
What are you saying?
You're both murderers.
Right. Down the cellar. It's not very nice, is it? Come here, you. Down the cellar, right? Now, come back here. Now, don't bother coming back.
Bill Clegg is probably the most difficult character in the entire piece to play. He has to play a reality all the way through the film. And yet at the same time, Boy Spider perceives him as a demon, but I can't play him as a demon because otherwise that gives a lie to the end of the film. So it's a very difficult thing to tread the line between being a bad man in the eyes of a child and being real for the audience, so that the audience understands the story. So it's actually very slippery, and it's probably the most difficult role I have ever played in my life.
Yes?
Plumber.
What?
I'm the plumber. I believe you got trouble with your pipes.
Eve! Plumber! Don't tread on the cats. Sit here. You like the plumber?
Playing three different projections of his mind. My only important thing to do was to play them all as real people, keep them completely individual and not think about, but actually we're imaginary or we're half real.
There's just a quality in Spider's character. There's something about the way that he is trying to piece together his life. He's alone, he's very solitary. And I think in a way, maybe a bit of me identified with someone alone trying to work out who they are and where they've come from. I like to let things emerge. I started off with, they gave me I selected a suitcase and I selected different things to have in it, and I took it with me, and I would just fiddle or play with the things inside the suitcase, and I would practice writing this Spider's language. And then all the things that you see I selected myself, and the clothes were very important, even though they look very boring and grey. Each shirt, we took a long time to find the right shirt that felt right, and they were always on in the same order. And I knew those shirts very, very well indeed. And with David's sister, Denise, she does the clothes, she designs the clothes, and together she and I spent a long time finding the right trousers that were a little too short and the right shoes. And in that process of putting on the clothes, I could feel a physicality starting to come.
The reason why the book was called Spider there were various reasons. One is I always saw him as a rather lanky, long-legged, long-limbed child, a rather clumsy child, constantly infuriating his father because he knocks things over and bumps into tables and so forth. So there was a certain physicality about him that was spidery, and he was in this way a sort of weaver of elaborate constructions. He was a weaver of webs, this little boy, and continued to weave webs into his manhood. And Spider's stories, in a sense, about clawing through the various concentric rings of falsehood and getting at this sort of kernel of truth at the center.
But also a web, if you're a spider, a web comes from you as well. So it's the idea that we create our own entrapments, you know, that we are trapped by our own creations and surrounded by them. And yet we live by them. We, as a spider, must have a web in order to survive. We survive because of the web that we create of our identity, of our past, of our understanding of culture, of language. And at the same time, we're trapped by those things. And really, if you think of identity, it isn't really a stable thing, to the extent that if memories equal identity, then the fact that memories change constantly, they're constantly being upgraded, updated, reconstructed. What you think about what happened in your childhood 10 years ago is different now, is different later. When your sister tells you something else, it all changes. So where is your identity? You know, every day that you wake up, you have to recreate yourself. And every day that you wake up, it's possible that you will create a slightly different person, you know. So this is just someone who is so-called schizophrenic, who has no sense of a coherent identity, is not necessarily so unusual and so far away from everybody.
What is the matter with you, Dennis? Why are you so angry with us? You know you're making your mother very unhappy.
She's not my mother.
Oh. Not this again. Who is she then? Who is she, Dennis? Who is she?
She's a tar.
You cheeky monkey. I should smack your head.
She's a cheap tar.
The audience have to accept that they're not going to get the kind of information they're used to, because that is the truth about this kind of person, that if they were present with this sort of person, they would have to respond in the same way. I mean, they couldn't have a dialogue, and that person couldn't say, I feel like this, or this is my problem. So that's the only... There was a voiceover in the screenplay, which David, I think, quite rightly took out, because it didn't feel truthful. It felt like it was there simply to explain to the audience. Having set up someone who's not able, to talk to people easily, suddenly having a voiceover where he's saying to the audience, I felt this, I felt that. It just was a complete contradiction. It just felt phony.
Mr. Clegg, how many shirts are you wearing? 1, 2, 3, 4? Now, really, is this absolutely necessary?
Oh, indeed it is, madam. Clothes maketh the man. And the less there is of the man, the more the need of the clothes.
We could ask ourselves at the end of the movie if that really is the ending, because it's in a sense, the movie is a mystery. It has a mystery that is solved with another ending, and then, but you could say, well, is that really the ending, or is that just another possibility that Spider has created for himself, and maybe there is one more or two more after the movie is over?